Okay, the Champa arc, the Universe 6 tournament arc, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's over now. It is done. It has been over for a while. And I guess I'm a little overdue now to just give my overall thoughts, my full review on the full arc, what I thought. This isn't going to be an in-depth critical analysis. This really is just more of a companion piece to my episodic reviews. So if you want like something more in-depth and critical, like deconstructs like, you know, the little bitty details, I recommend just going through and watching all those episodic reviews and then coming to this one. Or just watch this one. That's cool too. It really doesn't matter because it's like I said, this is just the overarching review, what I thought of it as a whole, all the events that happened in like its proper context, where it started, where it ended, and how I feel about everything that happened in between. Now, when this arc was announced, a lot of people just rode the hype train really hard. They were like, yes, finally, this is where the series is gonna get good. This is it, like brand new content. You can stop bitching Zeon because Super's gonna get awesome. No more movie rehashes. And I made a video talking about how I didn't have really high hopes for this arc. I mean, you know, the idea of like, oh yeah, Super Dragon Balls and another God of Destruction from another universe. And it's gonna be formatted in a tournament. That's how we're dealing with this conflict. Alright. That's different. That wasn't what I was expecting, I guess. You know, I was kind of hoping for some big epic quest to like another universe for like a new set of Dragon Balls and, you know, something that's grand and overarching. But a tournament works too, I guess. Oh, we're gonna be facing a whole bunch of guys that we have no context for or any emotional connection to. That's cool, I guess. And a lot of people called me out being a hater. I'm just trying to ruin Dragon Ball Super for people. And no, it's just I wasn't excited. I wasn't pumped. I had nothing to really be excited about. And I wasn't quite sure why everyone was just riding this hype train so hard. I mean, I kind of get why they work. It's just like, more Dragon Ball! Yeah, give me more Dragon Ball! I don't care what it is, just more Dragon Ball! Unfortunately, I'm a little too old and jaded and cynical for that shit. I've been in this goddamn fandom for 20-ish years, so I can't ride the hype train like everyone else does. I just kind of like, oh, cool, they're making another arc. Hopefully this one doesn't suck. And I didn't have a lot of high hopes because Super up until that point had been a clusterfuck. The Beerus arc was a complete slog. The Frieza arc was a utter clusterfuck, and now we're going into this new arc, and it's a tournament. It's just a tournament. Okay, what are the stakes? Oh, well, Universe 7's Earth is going to be moved to Universe 6 if they lose. Oh, well, that's not really high stakes. Even the characters themselves point out, like, it really wouldn't affect their lives in any way, shape, or form. Not really a big deal, not really a big loss. I had a bunch of people bitching at me, like, give it the benefit of the doubt. Like, you don't know where the arc's gonna go. This is probably just gonna be like the 26th tournament, or no, 25th tournament, where they just use that as like a springboard for the Majin Buu arc, and it's gonna spiral out into something bigger and crazier. And I had no faith in that. I figured people were being really hopeful, and I was right. This tournament didn't go anywhere. It didn't really do anything. Yeah, Zeno shows up, and what does he do? He announces a bigger, better tournament, which kind of devalues this tournament. Okay, the new characters we got. 2 of them kind of got some development, sorta. The rest, not so much. Yeah, it was really underwhelming, and like, don't get me wrong, this is by far the best arc Dragon Ball Super has developed. That being said, though, I consider the first 2 arcs of the series to be utter fucking trash. They are bottom tier. I dislike them more than any other arc of the franchise. So saying that, like, oh, well, this is the best arc of this series, well, it's probably better than the Majin Buu arc, which is what I consider the bottom tier of, like, you know, prior to Dragon Ball Super. I'd say it's probably better than that, maybe. I'd still put it below the Artificial Human arc, which is my second least favorite arc. I'd put it below all the filler arcs, all the GT stuff. It's just, there's just not a lot to latch on to in this arc whatsoever. Now, before I just start, like, really just kind of shitting on this because I'm not really going to shit on it that bad, but like before I really start being overly negative, let me get some of the positives out of the way first. There are definitely things I like. This arc was enjoyable. It was entertaining. It had, like, I love seeing Goku and Vegeta train in the Room of Spirit of Time. I really enjoyed how Goku beat Botamo, where he just kind of flips his fat ass over and drags him out of the ring and just chucks him the fuck out. That was hilarious. I like the concept of Frost being this guy who's, like, you know, he pretends to be this great hero, but really he's this kind of maniacal fucking manipulator who's just kind of tricking everyone into just thinking he's the shit. Love that concept of his character. I thought he was like he's like Frieza, but way more interesting than regular Frieza. I thought the Vegeta versus Vegeta fight was really cool. It was a lot of great spectacle. I liked seeing more tactical fights in Dragon Ball. Them giving Vegeta this kind of, you know, hindrance with the he can't fly too far, and he's kind of enclosed, and he's stuck with all that heat. I love the Vegeta versus Cabba fight. I really enjoyed a lot of... I loved the development that Cabba got during that segment. And the Goku versus Hit fight, even though it made no fucking sense in terms of, like, how their abilities were working, it was fucking cool. It was totally fucking straight up, super awesome, badass. It was super entertaining to watch. And if that's what you want from Dragon Ball, if that's all Dragon Ball is to you, is just really cool fight scenes and just, you know, really cool characters doing really cool shit on screen, then this arc is for you. Like, I can totally understand why you think this arc is the shit and it's amazing. That is not what I want from Dragon Ball. I mean, I want cool fights. I mean, that's kind of what originally got me watching it as a teenager, was like, oh yeah, these fights are fucking awesome. This show's so fucking cool. But over the years, like, you know, watching it from beginning to end so many times, I've grown an appreciation for the overarching stories that these characters have gone through, their development as individuals, and just, you know, the specific challenges that they have faced throughout the course of this franchise. This arc gave me nothing to latch onto. It was a complete fluff event. It was the anime equivalent of eating a cupcake. Yeah, it was fucking delicious, it was awesome, but did I really get anything fulfilling out of it? No, not at all. The new characters that we got were horribly underdeveloped. I mean, seriously, tell me something about Botamo other than the fact that he's fat as fuck. Nothing. He is Space Winnie the Pooh. Rumbling, tumbling, climbing a honey tree. Like, there's nothing to his character. There is nothing to latch onto. He's just kind of like a douche when he shows up. He gets chucked out by Goku, that's it. Frost, interesting character. You know, I liked his whole backstory, but then they didn't really do anything with him. He was just, like, you know, meant to be this guy that just gets kind of brushed off early on. So, you know, he's probably not going to really ever play a role in this series again. So, really not anything to get excited about. You know, like I said, his backstory is cool. That's about it. Cabba was a great character. He was great. You know, I felt that he was really well developed. You know, they gave, you know, like some great little background lore on his Saiyan race, like what's happened to the Saiyans in Universe 6. His whole dynamic with Vegeta I really liked. You know, how Vegeta pushes him to become a Super Saiyan. That's a great concept. But then you have, like, Vegeta. Tell me something about Vegeta other than the fact that he's sensitive. That he's kind of a puss and he cries easily if you make fun of him. You can't. You really can't. And then there's Hit. Tell me something about Hit other than the fact that he's an assassin. He's an assassin who's never really been challenged. And that he wanted the transportation cube for winning the tournament. But then, at the end of the tournament, he's like, I don't give a shit about the transportation cube. So, and they don't even give a reason why he doesn't give a shit about the transportation cube anymore. He just doesn't anymore. So yeah, all the new characters, with the exception of Cabba, pretty underwhelming in terms of their development. Like I said, Frost gets a backstory, and that's about it. Like, nobody really gets developed at all, gets any kind of interesting story to go with them, you know. I thought they were going to do something interesting with Hit, like, oh, like the reason Hit wanted the transportation cube is so he could go to other universes to finally find the challenge he's been looking for, but he found it in Goku, so now he doesn't need that transportation cube, and now Goku is someone that he really wants to fight in the future. But they don't do that, or, like, if that was their intention, they didn't convey it well at all. You know, he just kind of throws the fight at the end, and he goes, I don't give a shit about that cube anymore. It's like, well, why? And speaking of whys, Like, why did Champa want the Super Dragon Balls? They never even go into that whatsoever. You know, this whole thing, like, you know, he's been apparently collecting them for God knows how long, and he never says why he originally wanted them. He just, they go to Beers, and then that's it, and, you know, we never find out what his original goals were. Like, what was his end goal with those? Why was he ever collecting them? Was he just collecting them to have them? Like, what was his wish going to be? So that whole concept with Champa, like, his character goes absolutely nowhere, and he just felt like a wasted character. He felt like wasted potential. You know, I felt like they really could have done a lot more with him, and it's just, what is he? He's Fat Beers, that's all he is. He's Fat Beers, he's a bit more of an asshole, you know, which is impressive because Beers is already an asshole. And we didn't really get, like, anything out of him. He's, you know, he's super petty. He was going to have to kill his entire team just because, you know, they lost. So yeah, nothing really to be taken away from his character whatsoever. Then we have the uses of our Z fighters, or our super fighters, whatever the fuck you want to call them now. You know, it's Goku and Vegeta. That's really anyone that matters. Majin Buu, pfft, who gives a shit about him? He apparently fell asleep. Because that's good writing. That's a good way to remove a character from a story. Just keep having him fall asleep. That's a good reason for him not to show up in any major event ever. Oh, Piccolo got the fight. Oh, look, Piccolo lost because Frost cheated. Oh, like, he gets to go on to the next round. Oh, no, wait, Vegeta wants to kick Frost's ass. Step aside, Green Man. Let the badass Prince of all Science handle this one. You know, it's like, step aside, bitch. Yeah, no, like, he gets pretty much just walked over. That's a really shitty way to treat his character. And then, like, Vegeta just gets the raffle stomp over the rest of the team up until he gets the hit. And I feel like that's only done so that way people can, like, you know, feel better that, like, you know, that Vegeta lost. It's like, oh yeah, Vegeta lost, but, like, he got to kick the shit out of Frost. Yeah, he beat Vegeta. You know, he beat Cabba. Yeah, so he took out, like, you know, 3 of the 5 guys on their team. So, you know, it makes it better. And plus, you know, Goku loses, so it's not like, you know, Goku, you know, gets to really outshine Vegeta because he still loses. I just feel like that's just pointless Vegeta fan pandering for the Vegeta fanboys, because if they just, you know, bury Vegeta entirely, he's, you know, people are just going to flip their shit. And I really just wish this could have been a more balanced tournament, a more balanced display of the characters, using them a bit better. I didn't expect Piccolo to win his match at all, but, you know, still, they could have treated him better. They could have just been like, oh, well, he lost because Frost cheated, but he's going to go ahead and step down now, so that way, you know, Vegeta can get, you know, his time to shine. I just felt that was just, like I said, blatant fan pandering to the Vegeta fanboys, and that's all that was. So the else I really didn't like about this arc is how it's constantly trying to force tension by restricting the characters. And it's a completely artificial sense of tension. It's not like real tension. This is like, the show's pretending that there's tension by having the characters being completely held back. Vegeta is going through all of his matches in just Super Saiyan form. He doesn't use his SSGSS form until he gets to Cabba for some reason. Then he decides to show it off. He has this really long, drawn-out fight with Vegeta, though, that has like all this kind of tension to it. You know, but it's just like, it only has tension because Vegeta's holding back. If Vegeta wasn't holding back arbitrarily, there wouldn't be tension here. And it's really hard to give a shit about a fight when you know the character is just holding back. And you can argue, like, oh, well, Dragon Ball characters always hold back. Not like this. Like, whenever the character's like, oh, like they'll hold back, you know, and they'll usually keep on even keel with their opponent. But whenever, like they start getting pushed, that's when they really start, you know, showing more and more of their powers. And they're not really prone to holding back transformations. Like, you know, unless we're talking about, like, filler or GT or the movies, they really don't just hold back an entire transformation that they could be using. And even when, like, the movies and GT does it, you know, like they're holding back their transformations, they hold them back until it's like, okay, you know, now this is kind of bullshit. Now just go all out, and then, you know, then they'll transform, and, you know, they'll kick the required amount of ass that they need to. Here, Vegeta's just holding back arbitrarily. He starts off in his base form, then he goes, then he's, goes Super Saiyan. And it's really hard to feel like Vegeta's in any real danger. I mean, Vegeta almost loses this fight, this tournament against Vegeta, and he only gets saved because of a rule stipulation, because he ended up landing on a tiny little chunk of the arena. Even though he landed outside the arena, he landed on a little chunk of it, so that still counted as him being in ring. And he was fucking pissed about that. Like, that should have been reason enough for him to fucking transform, but no, we gotta, like, give this artificial sense of tension. And people want to bitch about, like, oh, would you just prefer that Vegeta's go in one-shot every single character? There'd be no fucking fights, it'd be completely fucking boring. Well, yeah, it would be fucking boring. But, it's like this weird fucking trade-off. You either get, like a boring fucking tournament where the characters just one-shotting their way through everyone, or you end up with this fucking, contrived-ass stupid tournament where the characters are holding back arbitrarily to try and create some sense of tension that isn't really there. There's really just, like, no winning with this. It's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. Now, earlier I was praising Kaba, like, like his development and his fight, his character overall. Like, they definitely spent a good bit more time on him, his relationship with Vegeta. I really liked a lot of that stuff, but to believe that Kaba has no clue what the hell a Super Saiyan is, the fact that he lives in a world where, like, in a universe where Saiyans, they're not near extinct. There's a whole planet of them, and there are no Super Saiyans. There's no Super Saiyan legend. There's no Super Saiyan God legend at all. You're gonna tell me he lives on a planet of entirely good Saiyans, and none of them have been able to figure out that, oh, well, if we all hold hands, we can have this amazing God power? Like, his race should be nothing but SSGSSs and Super Saiyan gods. That's all there should be. There shouldn't be... Like, they shouldn't even have fucking normal Super Saiyans. They're all good people. They're all, like, super friggin' nice guys. They're all righteous. How the hell do we have, like, no fucking Super Saiyan gods in their universe? How the hell do they not even have the fucking legend? Like there was apparently just 6, like, I guess like in the Battle of Gods movie, there was only 6 good Saiyans, and they were able to figure it out, and it spun off in this entire fucking legend. But... we don't even have, like, they don't even have the legend. They don't have anything, even though, like, like, Saiyans are prospering in their universe. That just came off as fucking stupid horseshit. And it really felt like it was just, like, there so that way they could have this, Vegeta-senpai relationship with Kaba. Like, like Vegeta's the senpai, Kaba's the kohai, and they could have that little dynamic where it's like this master-teacher thing, and he gets to, like, look up to his Oni-san Vegeta. It just didn't make sense to me. It just felt, once again, forced and contrived. It wasn't really well explained. It's just really hard to swallow that just in this universe, nobody knows what the fuck a Super Saiyan is. Nobody, like, they don't have fucking Super Saiyan gods. They don't have this whole fucking legend. And the whole thing just really felt like a waste of potential. They could have done a lot more cool lore stuff. And instead, they didn't. It was just Kaba looking up to Vegeta-senpai. And that was a huge disappointment. And finally, there's the stakes of the tournament. As I brought up before, there are no stakes. There is nothing to really give a shit about in this tournament. The characters themselves even point out that there's nothing to give a shit about in this tournament. And you could argue that maybe, like, if they lost, Beers would have killed them or something, but it's really unlikely. It really doesn't seem to be in his character. Champa's character, yes. Beers' character, no. He seems really interested in, like, too invested in getting Goku to be stronger, to really push Goku's limits. Probably so he can fight him again in the future and have, like, him be, like, even tier with him, or something. I don't know, because they really haven't gone into that yet. And the last thing I really want to bring up is the fact that this tournament has no stakes. I brought it up before, I'm going to bring it up now. I said that this tournament had no stakes before it even began. I didn't think they were going to develop any stakes, and they didn't. Like, the big thing that's going to happen is, oh man, like, if they lose, like, Universe 7's Earth gets transported to Universe 6, whoop-de-fucking-do. Like, it's not going to affect anybody in any way, shape, or form, except now Champa gets to have really good food in his universe. And the big thing that this whole tournament was leading up to was the god of everything, or the king of everything, setting up a bigger, better, grander tournament. Because that's what I want, another tournament. Because, I mean, yeah, we're getting another arc in between that tournament, but woo, another fucking tournament. Woo, because this one was so goddamn exciting and really paid off. And a lot of people keep pointing out to me, it's like, well, Dragon Ball had a whole bunch of tournaments. There were 4 tournaments in the original Dragon Ball. There was the 3 Tenkaichi Budokais, and then there was the Uranai Baba tournament. So, you know, what are you bitching about? You like the tournaments in those, why can't you like the tournament in this? Well, people seem to be missing the context of those tournaments and the role it fulfilled in Dragon Ball. Like, the original Tenkaichi Budokais, they were, like, you know, these benchmarks for Goku. It showed his development, and it was something that Goku was striving for. It was the title of Strongest Under the Heavens, and Goku was always coming just short of being that guy. Like, his very first tournament, you know, yeah, like, you know, he faced some guys that we had never seen before. Who gave a shit about that? The big thing was he was going to face, in the finals, Jackie Chun, who was really the Muten Roshi. That was the big thing was building up to. It was student versus master. That was the big conflict we were building up to. And then the next tournament, it's like, okay, let's see, has Goku gotten far enough? Will Goku, you know, be able to beat the Muten Roshi this time? And this time, oh shit, the Muten Roshi steps down. And who's he stepped down to? The student of the Crane School. The rival school of the Turtle School. You know, so it's going to be, you know, this pretty much this warring, this big finale of the clashing of these 2 martial arts rivals. And they do a really good job of building up Tenshinhan as this thing. So, like, it's this new benchmark for Goku to live up to and, you know, to contend with. And he goes and, like, you know, like, we see Tenshinhan, like, he takes out Yamcha, you know, completely snaps his leg. The Muten Roshi steps down, you know, doesn't even, you know, he has this big fight with him and then steps down, and it's like leaving it to the newer generation. So there's a lot of hype going into Tenshinhan as a character, and it's like, is this going to be the one? Is this where Goku is going to obtain this? He lost last time. Is he going to do it this time? No, he falls short again. And then finally, the 23rd tournament, he's facing, you know, Ma Jr., the reincarnation of the Demon King Piccolo, the guy who, like, killed his best friend and, you know, took over the world, is now, like, his reincarnation, his son, and now he's going to face this guy, and you know, this is it. Like, you know, if he doesn't win this tournament, the world's fucked. So this tournament actually has goddamn stakes to it, on top of, like, real legitimate, not just personal stakes for Goku as a character, but, like, if Goku fails here, the world's fucked. Like, God gets involved, God loses, now it's just down to Goku and my Jr. Like, who's gonna win? And the winner is Goku. Goku finally does it. Not only does he defeat the reincarnation of the Demon King, but he has finally obtained that title that he had been striving for, Strongest Under the Heavens. He has done it. Like, you know, that was like this big culmination of Goku's character arc to achieve that title, to be the strongest man on Earth. That was what everything had been building up to. And that was our big cathartic payoff for reading and watching up until that point. That had not just, you know, universal stakes, but personal stakes for Goku. This is something that Goku wanted, because we don't see Goku want a whole lot. This is something that he wanted. This is something that he felt he personally needed. So yeah, there was a catharsis to him winning that tournament. The closest comparison that the Universe 6 and 7 tournament has to any of the tournaments in Dragon Ball would be the Uranai Baba tournament. It's a 5-on-5 tournament. It doesn't really seem to it doesn't follow the same structure. The characters that we know and love and become attached to over the course of the story are fighting 5 guys that we really have pretty much no connection to. This new character that's running the tournament we have no connection to. So the closest comparison is that tournament. But I'd still say the Uranai Baba tournament is far better than this one. Or maybe not far better, but definitely a good bit better than this one. First off, I feel it utilizes its characters better, like our hero characters. Like, everyone gets like a little moment to shine. Yeah, it's mostly for the sake of gag fights and whatnot. You know, and they do a lot of silly stuff for the sake of doing silly stuff, but that's just kind of the nature of old Dragon Ball. But like, everyone kind of gets like a little moment to do something, and Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. I felt they were pretty creative with some of the things that they were doing. Yamcha has like a really decent fight with the Invisible Man, and it has like that really hilarious ending where like, you know, the Mutaneroshi shoots blood all over him after seeing Bulma's tits. He has like that really intense fight with the Mummy, you know, where he almost gets fucking killed. And then, of course, you know, Goku steps in at the end like he does and, you know, wins the whole thing. And yes, you could point out that if Goku had just jumped in the ring first, he could have just went through and one-shotted everyone, and there would not have been really much of a match up until, like, the really, like, final fight. But I like to point to this other tournament we just had. Goku could have gone SSGSS and just boom, one shot, boom, one shot, boom, one shot, boom, one shot, until he got the hit. And then hit would have been the big, huge obstacle Goku would have had to try and overcome. So in that regard, they suffer from like that exact same flaw. Like if the characters hadn't been arbitrarily holding back, they could have just raffle stomped straight through their opponents. And in the Urnai Baba tournament, if Goku had just stepped in, he could have just raffle stomped through all of his opponents up until they get to the end and they get to the big final climactic fight. And then you have that big climactic fight. And in the Universe 6 and 7 tournament, it's Goku versus Hit. And you can argue like, well, it's Monaka versus Hit. No, it's Goku versus Hit. That is the big finale centerpiece of this tournament, is like really building up to, and that's where like all of like the cool shit comes in. And that's the thing, like that fight has cool shit. That's about all it has, and it's cool shit that, as I pointed out in my episode reviews, doesn't make sense. The Tokitabashi, how it's described and how it's displayed, isn't the same. The Kaioken, like how Goku's, you know, working around the Tokitabashi, it's like how they're explaining it isn't what they're showing. It makes no goddamn sense. It's a complete fucking clusterfuck. It's a cool clusterfuck. It's an awesome to fucking watch clusterfuck, but it's a clusterfuck nonetheless. Now compare that to the finale of the Urnai Baba tournament, where Goku is going up against the masked fighter. He doesn't know who the hell he's going up against. We don't know who the hell he's going up against, but it's some guy who's super fucking powerful, who's totally kicking Goku's ass, knows all of Goku's weaknesses, and really is giving him a run for his money. But the big thing that separates this fight from the fight with Hit is the big emotional payoff when you get the big reveal that it was Grandpa Gohan. You know, someone that, you know, Goku hasn't seen in years, that's been dead. And it's emotional. It's genuinely heartfelt. We get to see a side of Goku we've never seen. Goku just in tears, holding his grandfather. Seeing Goku, you know, like, share a really tender moment with someone he genuinely loves and that he's lost and he hasn't seen in years. And it is this phenomenal payoff that you're not even expecting. And it really just hits you. And it is. Like, that is a payoff that you just do not get from that fight with Hit. What do you get from the Hit fight? You get a cool fight. Here, with the Grandpa Gohan fight, you get the cool fight. You get a fairly brutal fight, too. And you get that big emotional payoff, that catharsis for going through what was kind of just a schlocky tournament up until this point. And that's something. And also, the fight makes sense contextually. Like, there isn't those things like with the Hit and Goku fight where you're like, this doesn't make any goddamn sense of what the hell's going on. No point do you get that. And you get that big emotional payoff, which just makes it so much better in my mind. And then finally, there are the stakes. That tournament had stakes, unlike the Universe 6 and 7 tournament. And people will go, well, what stakes are there? Like, you know, like what? Like, you know, like they're trying to find the Dragon Ball. Well, yeah, like, you know, if they don't find that last Dragon Ball, Bora doesn't get resurrected. Like, you know, and you might want to look at that as like, well, that's really small stakes. But, you know, it's small personal stakes to our characters. It matters to them. You know, if Bora stays dead, Oompa doesn't have his father. That matters to Oompa greatly. Also, it really matters to Goku, our main character, the one that we're personally attached to, that, you know, Bora come back to life, because Goku stood there and watched as Bora died. He did not intervene in that, and Goku's partially to blame for Bora's death. So Goku is taking personal responsibility for that. And so, yeah, he needs that last Dragon Ball. So, yeah, there are personal stakes for those characters. In the Champa arc, there are no personal stakes. There's no emotional stakes. There's no personal stakes. There's no world-shattering stakes. There are no stakes whatsoever. I mean, other than the fact that, like, you know, the Universe 6 guys were going to get killed off by Champa. But that's not really stakes. That's not, like, stakes to our characters. And we didn't even know that was going to be the case if they lost. But then, of course, you know, Zeon intervenes anyhow, so, like, you know, nothing even happens to them, so, you know, there's nothing. There's really nothing to attach yourself to. The Champa arc is the poor man's Uranai Baba arc. Yeah, like, it's bigger, cooler, you know, it's more action-packed, but overall, it's just more hollow and less fulfilling, and just doesn't do it for me. It's cool, it was fun to watch, and if that's what you want from your Dragon Ball, yeah, this arc was great for you, like I said. But I want more. Hopefully the next arc will be better. I'm not gonna hold my breath. I'm not gonna like put a lot of faith in that. I'm gonna hope for the best, but expect pretty much nothing. And that wraps up this overly long-winded review. I really expected it to be a lot shorter than this, but apparently I had a lot more to say than I thought. Till next time, guys, Zeon, out.